Well, hi everybody. It is let's see, what is today? Today's April, I think the 9th. Boy, we're already in the second quarter of the year. The year is 2026 and we're on planet Earth. And we're here today. The topic of today's that we want to talk about was something that came up and I heard in a couple of calls is the idea or the concept of prospecting, what it is, what it means, and how you become really good at it and how to, build your business. And prior to this, we were just talking about the idea of a business and its value and its worth and all of those kind of things. And this all boils down to all the fundamentals that we've been talking about on these Business 101 classes for the past 6 or 7 weeks, starting in January of, what we do. It starts off with what do we do? And what we do is we look for distributors or we look for customers. So the end result of our activity is either going to be a distributor or a customer. Now, as this is your business, your view should be okay. You've done your admin scale, you got your goal, you understand the purpose of your goal, you understand the policy that you're going to abide by and utilize to reach that goal. You've got a basic plan, and then you've got a strategy or like the program, the steps of activity that you're going to do, and you probably got some projects you want to do, and you know the orders that you need to give, and you understand what the ideal scene is, and that's really a mirror image of the goal. And you're monitoring the activities by statistics so you can really measure what's working and what's not without guessing. I mean, statistics are very accurate. And then, of course, you've got your valuable final product, what you're producing from all your work. And again, in this particular case, it's either a distributor or a customer. Now, I have said on many, many occasions that the most valuable of those two products is the distributor. And the reason why the distributor is the most valuable is because what the distributor does is he finds customers and he finds other distributors. So in the next evolution of that concept of another distributor, what does that new distributor do? He finds customers and other distributors. And that in itself keeps going. If one puts their attention on making it go. So two things in here that are important to understand. You can either cause it to grow or you can be the effect of its growth or no growth. Now, this is a very interesting aspect to look at because if we look at it, what is cause? Well, cause is making something work. So you recruit a distributor who you want in your organization because that's what you want. And you want that distributor to produce. You probably have an idea of what you would want them to produce. If I had a gung-ho distributor and that I recruited, I'd want them to be a Royal Diamond. And I know what a Royal Diamond produces. They produce 300,000 points. So if they produce 300,000 points and I'm at 60% of that's 180,000 in CV, what am I going to make at 6%? 10, $15,000, right? So the value of that person all of a sudden went from a new prospect to an asset that's producing and giving me $15,000 a month. Kind of changes the perspective of the importance of the person I'm talking to, doesn't it? Kind of puts in other words, so you're talking to somebody else, and this comes down to prospecting. What's prospecting? Well, prospect, I looked it up on, I'll do a quick share here because I looked it up on Google to give you something to actually have. Let's see, share. Okay, I think it's here. Okay, there we go. Do you see that? You guys see that?
Yes.
Okay. What is sales processing? Sales processing is lead generation tactic where salespeople source and contact customers who fit their ideal customer profile to develop new business. So if we define what a prospect is and we understand what our business is all about and we know what we want, what are we really looking for? We're looking for somebody that wants to go to work and get to Royal Diamond. I mean, that would be the ideal. That would be the ideal scene in my business plan. And okay, now from experience, I know that doesn't happen every day, but I do know it can happen. See that I do know it can happen, and then based on our history, it happened a lot. So in your prospecting, you're envisioning the ideal person that you want to have in your business. And you're also at the same time, you know what you're going to do with that person. And at the same time, you know how you're going to grow the business. So if I recruited you, Vivian, one of the things I'd want to know is where do you want to go? What do you want to handle? What are you trying to accomplish? What's going to turn your crank, so to speak, about building this business? And you're going to tell me, and you're going to give me an idea, and you're going to say, "Well, man, if we go back to our for Dominique, and she wanted to do a business so she didn't have to work for the rest of her life. That's exactly what I wanted. I wanted to build a business so I didn't have to work. Now, I didn't quite understand what that meant as a young man, but I didn't like the jobs that I was doing and working 8 hours, 10 hours a day and not having very much money for doing what I did. So I wanted more. That's the kind of person that you're looking for. You want somebody that wants more. They just haven't figured out how to get that more. They tried and they haven't been successful because they haven't had the right guide or the right teacher or the right mentor. So what I found in the sense of the key to prospecting was knowing the end result, matching that up with the person that I was talking with, and asking questions. It was all about asking questions. Now, and again, give you a prime example. I'm flying on a plane from, I think, California. It was in California. It was on Southwest Airlines at the time. They didn't have seating. It was, where you sit where you can. And I was late to the flight, and I would think I was going from LA to somewhere. And I'm in the middle row bulkhead. So there was a bulkhead right in front of me, and then there was a different class in front, and an empty seat on the right. A lady is coming down the aisle with a roller bag. She stops before she gets to this seat, didn't know where she was going to sit. She turns to the guy behind her, happened to be a man, and he says, "Can you help lift my bag into the compartment? I can't lift my arm past my shoulder." I watched and observed this. Well, guess where she sat? Right beside me. What do you think I was thinking? Well, I was thinking, oh boy, this could be interesting. Oh, we have products that solve that problem. Ooh, this is very good. What could we talk about? Now, how do I go about doing this? I'm thinking about all this as next thing you know, she sits down beside me and it's hi, how are you? Hi, how are you? All right. We start the moving, getting organized down the flight. Well, where are you going? Are you on business? Are you going home, traveling? Okay, the social chit chat. We chat socially for a good 35 minutes on the flight first. And then after I had talked with her, I found out a lot more about this person. I found out what she did. From asking her what she did, I understood what kind of money she made. Why did I have that information? Because I did my homework. I did research. I studied people. I looked at what was paid out there. I'm in the business. This is my business, and I'm trying to find people to join me in my business. I better damn well know what's out there, what's available, what's not available, what the problems are, what the challenges are, so that I can have an intelligent conversation of why they should become a Nikin distributor. And I got to have a pathway for them. And I can't leave them by themselves with like a deer in headlights. If you recruit somebody and expect them to make it without you doing and lifting a finger, quit now. It doesn't work. If you recruit somebody and don't help build them to gold, platinum, and beyond as a priority, quit now. Because it's not going to work if you don't. See, here's what people miss about building this business. It's your business. These are your people. They're in your organization. The production they produce gives you an income. Go figure, right? High mag water.
Mhm.
So the key to prospecting is knowledge. It's listening to the people, but first you got to ask the question, well, where are you traveling to? Is this work or pleasure? Why would I want to ask that question? Because I want to know who this person is. Oh, their travel, their leisure, because she was seemed to be a little bit older. Couldn't really tell her age, but it opened the conversation. Well, I'm going back home. Wow, I'm going on a business trip. Oh, good. What do you do? She never asked me what I did, and I refuse to talk to people about my business unless they ask me. And the reason why I do that is because then if they ask me, carte blanche to tell them everything I possibly can tell them. But if I start pitching them before they're ready, what do you feel like? You walk into the store, you're looking to buy a dress, and the salesman says, okay, what do you want? Oh, I'm just looking. They don't want to be sold, they want to buy. So you want to create the situation where they buy. Now, at the end of the trip, she bought a sleep system, she bought a car seat, she bought about $6,000 worth of product. Because I asked questions, I figured out what she wanted, and I figured out what she was, and we concluded the sale about a week later, and everything was hunky dory. Now, that was a good story. I had another story. Lady beside me, a younger woman, and she's got neck problems, and I had a necklace on. I took the necklace off and I gave it to her. I said, "Why don't you try this? Why don't you wear it and tell me what you think?" She wore it for a couple of weeks and she mailed it back, said she didn't like it. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But it doesn't matter. What you want to do is you don't worry about what doesn't work, you worry about what works. That you got to keep going. It's like the lady and she's one seat above me. Gets up grimacing. Ah. And she'd happen to turn back and look at me and I said, "Oh my God, are you okay?" She said, "Yeah, it's just a past polio situation." I happen to have Mag Boys and Mag Steps in my briefcase. I handed her the Mag Boys and I said, "Rub these on you and we'll talk after a while." But an hour later, she jumps out of her seat. Just literally jumps out of her seat to, holy cow, these things are great. I don't want to do another network marketing company, but can I buy them from you? And I said, sure. So What's the moral of the story? The moral of the story is that if you're willing to confront, and what confront means is to look at and communicate with somebody else comfortably, you're going to win like tomorrow. You're just going to win, 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 because that's the whole key to this business. See, what I was not afraid to do was talk to anybody that walked. And I was not afraid to ask questions. And I was not afraid to get into the social conversations. Sometimes they did not mature. Sometimes they didn't turn into a lead. Sometimes they took total opposite directions. Sometimes it was like, nice to meet you. Have a great day. See you later. But the idea was it was consistent. So I'd have my board on the wall. I'd have the circles that needed to be filled in. I'd wake up, I'd go into my office with a cup of coffee, and I'd do my battle plan for the day. I said, I got to get somebody for that circle today. And then I walk out of the house and I go talk to as many people as I could talk to. Didn't matter who they were, where they were, what they were doing, nothing. Because circumstance does not matter. That's up in your head. Understand, it's like beauty's in the eye of the beholder. It's like if we go back to our gal from Leo down in Mexico. She was prospecting Leo. He saw something and he gave it right back, and she wanted it. How did that happen? Asking questions, communication, seeking somebody, and again, prospecting. It was all about her prospecting. So, all right. If you Google search prospecting, you're going to find a gazillion different ways to prospect. In my opinion, the best way to prospect is in person, because that's when you can see the reaction of the person that you're talking to. And the best prospecting is warm market, because you know who you're talking to and you know the buttons that you can push and the things that you can discuss. Now, there are two views here. One is you've already blown your warm market, and now you've got to deal with the cold market. So that's a different approach. And what I would do in those circumstances is I want to find a partner. So I'm going to pitch somebody on the idea of we, knowing that it's their warm market we're going after. So rather than I'm recruiting you, so if, let's say it's Jeannie that I phone. We may have talked 10 times about this deal already. And so I might call up Jeannie, how you doing? And Jeannie says, I'm doing fine. What are you doing? I'm doing the same old thing. Okay, great. Well, how about, would you like a little excitement in your life? Well, what do you mean? I'm not talking about romance. I'm talking about I've got a great business idea, and we've talked a little bit about it before, but I've learned so much more. I'd love to sit down with you, and I think you and I together could make this work really big, really well. Opens up a whole different conversation. In other words, a lot of people, when you're recruiting them, it depends on how you do it, how you position yourself, but understand their position. They see the relationship between them and you. And sometimes for some people that's a barrier. Oh, I couldn't work with it. No, we couldn't do that, et cetera, et cetera. But together, yes, we could. So it's an idea. But again, the key to this business is warm market. Why? Well, there's very little resistance to communication. So you can talk. And communication is, in fact, the universal solvent. So anything can be handled with a communication. Any disagreement, anything, an idea. In 1990, I guess it was 1992, there was a lawsuit that was affecting Nikon. It was a class action lawsuit, and Nikon offered everybody back their money. I thought the business was done with. So one of my top guys who I've talked to you about, Howard, and I went back into corporate America. And the reason why I went back there is because he'd left before me and he was working in um, specialized mobile radio arena and with television signals. And he was making a small fortune. And of course, I'm a younger guy at that time, and money was important. I had a family to raise, and I was looking at the prospectus that Nikon's doors were going to close. It was a serious matter too, and so I followed him. He and I worked with the same company, and we found out the guys behind the company were crooks. So we said to ourselves, well, why don't we do it on ourselves? Because we could do a much better job. We collaborated. We figured out, we did our admin scale, goal purpose, the whole 9 yards. We looked at all the different things that we could do. We then opened up an office, did it, and we did, and ended up doing more money than Nikon did in 1993. How'd that work? Because we communicated, we found some common ground, we planned and strategized what to do together, and the benefits were the same. What did we talk about last week? Interest, benefits, action. So when somebody's interested in something, what are they truly interested in? And what do they do to get what they want here? So they're interested in the benefit of the activity. Let's take golfers. Golfers are madmen. Some are mad women. That's all they want to do is golf and hit that little golf ball around, into the gopher hole, as we've heard on the comedic side of things. And they're fanatical about it. And some of them travel the world, so on and so forth. Well, what's the key to that? It's the agreement, the camaraderie. So in the case of they're going after a benefit, and the more they like that benefit, the more they're willing to go into action to get that benefit. That's the key here. So what I observed with Nikon is the more a person's organization grew, the bigger the benefit they got, the more action they did to get it even bigger. So it comes back to how you're prospecting. So the first thing in prospecting is to identify the right person. And we talked about this. It's a person that has a need, a necessity level, or needs change, or is dissatisfied with what they're doing, or is buried, or is in trouble, whatever it is. It's need and circumstance. So how do you find that out? You got to ask the questions. So good prospecting comes about by good question asking. And you don't have to be a smart ass. You don't have to be overbearing. You can all make it very social. Well, how you doing? Well, great. What do you do? What do you do? There was a gal who built her entire organization. She created 6 platinums by going to the mall. And what she did was she observed women talking. And she watched and she went and she saw people just yap, 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 yap. And after they were finished going, yep, 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 she went up to him and said, "You know what? I couldn't help but see how wonderful you communicate with other people. I'd really like to talk to you about what I do. Would you like to sit down and talk with me?" Well, guess what the other person's going to do who likes to talk? They're going to talk. And conversations went, so she found six people and built them all to platinum. True story. Now, let's back that up a bit here because we're talking about prospecting. So she figured out a way that she could prospect people. I wouldn't do that. Not my style. Sorry. However, but it could be somebody else's style. It was like the beginning was I put together a list of 150, or however many people, 200 people, and I said, I don't have a list of 200 people. I burnt them already. I could maybe put together 15, which is what I did. But I understood the concept. The concept was in order to make this work, you need people to talk to, and you've got to fulfill a need with them to make it go. It was your gal's Danielle, right? Correct? Or it was Danielle was the mother. Um, we talked about her last week in the previous video. I don't know if you listened. We talked about that Danielle, the mother, was the distributor.
Yeah.
And as the upline of that distributor, the person I'd be working with the most is the mother. And the reason why I do that is she's a little bit older. She has a little bit more concern. She wants to help her daughter, and the best way to help the daughter is to become a diamond distributor. Because that'll give the daughter a nice strong leg, and then she'll have a story to go talk to the next person. So from the standpoint of understanding how the business works and getting all aspects of the idea put together and communicating and prospecting, it was like at the very beginning. Al told me to build deep. I built deep. And he told me why. He said, if you've got a leg going, you're really not going to be secure unless you have three generations of rank in a row. So if it's silvers, you got a silver, a silver, a silver, three deep. They could be six deep to create the three silver, but in this particular case, it'd be one, two, three. Then you got to have three golds in a row. Then you got to have three platinums in the same leg to make it strong. And so on and so forth. So the idea was, okay, all right. So if that's what I got to do, and I'm trying to find people to do this, I really need to focus on one person. Once I got the one person together, the two of us will build the depth. Once I got the depth going, then I can show everybody else, and everybody else can show everybody else. It was so easy. It was actually remarkably easy, how easy it was. So with Danielle and her daughter, I went silver. The daughter goes silver by piggybacking over the top of her. So move two is take the mother to gold. That would be how I would do that leg. Now, let's say that's a standalone leg and there's nothing else. Then I would take that and I would build that one leg down as far as I could take it to give it some strength. It's like a tree and a root. And then I've got my story. And the story is not me, but it's them. This is very important. The story is not me, it's them. Because what I want to do is I want to put her in a position where she's making $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month. Forget me for the time being, because I want them to see somebody else being able to do it other than me. And that was the secret. You see, I couldn't do what Al and Reed and there were three, there were six of them. There were the three husbands and the three wives. Made six, did that $34,000 the first month. The 200 and some $1,000 was like beyond me. Think big, think in futures. I thought about that down the road. But where I was at in my life at that time with the little resources I had, 40,000 was tough as it was. But once I got the concept, and this is what I'm talking to you about in the sense of the concept and what you need to put the concept together is what you want to do. Then you take you and then you apply the concept. So you're building your business. What do you want? You want $10,000 a month. Well, what's that going to take? Well, it's going to take $166,000 in CV. Let's say go 50%, it's 320,000. So basically, you're going to be a Royal Diamond. How many people is that? How many platinums? How many golds? How many silver? See, you want to have an idea so that that's the story you can tell. So when you know, okay, so let's say we're doing 300,000, we'll divide that by the 30 is 10 platinums. So you know that. So now you're prospecting and you're talking to somebody. What do you want with that person? You want them to be a platinum. So what does it take to become a platinum? That's 30,000 points. How many people? Over what period of time? How deep should the organization be? Because what you also have to look at is the exchange of that person and can they survive? See, a lot of people limit their thinking to themselves versus having a larger viewpoint and including the other people in that viewpoint and understanding I didn't get the success that I got by myself. I got the success I had because I had a group of people that were all on the same page. And I helped everybody I could, no matter if they were in my group or not in my group, on my 10th level, 20th level, whatever, didn't matter. Because I realized that the key to success for us is everybody's success. So if Jeannie busts out and goes diamond and Royal Diamond, what does that do for everybody else? Says, my God, Jeannie do it? I can do it. And that's what was going on back then. It was just, I can do it, you can do it, of course you can do it. So again, in the sense of building this business, the key to it is going to be your prospecting. And your prospecting is simply finding the right person that's going to give you what you want with your help. You heard the Ralph and Jerry story a gazillion times, but I'll say it again. So they have a problem. I give them a solution. They decide they want to go. So I married them for 3 years. We had a meeting, a wellness preview in Woodland Hills at the Woodland Hills Marriott every Wednesday night. I started doing the meeting. I schlepped the product. I set up the display. I paid for the meeting room. We didn't charge anybody to come in there. I'm making some money, so it didn't matter. We started off with a handful of people showing up at the meeting. After 3 years, they were running the meetings, and I was sitting on the sidelines, and we had anywhere from 100 to 200 people every Wednesday night showing up for a wellness preview. Then I let them go. Do you kind of get the idea of the importance of a person in your business so that when you're prospecting, you really put out the message that this is not me against you or you against me. This is me and you together. Because I can show you pretty much dollar for dollar, whatever they make, you'll make. It'll work out in the long run, big time. But it's part of what you do to communicate to get somebody interested. What do people see? The challenge that we have today is called instant gratification. And AI is going to make things even worse because all you do is you ask the question and you get an instantaneous answer. But there are certain areas that that's not going to work, and there's still certain areas that humans are going to be required, and there's still certain aspects of building the business that, they'll generalize it, but they can't build your business for you. As much as they want to do advertising and, get on the internet and buy leads, and you can do all that sort of stuff. But if you really strategize here, you want to figure out how to get into some warm markets. Because it's those warm markets that work. We just saw this example. It was priceless. This past example of the daughter, and then the daughter, she gives it to Leo. And he does the call. He does the work. And the true distributor shows up. And if you look at it and examine all the pieces of it, yeah, she was motivated. She had the necessity to do it. She had the finances to do it. She has the contacts. She's an ideal candidate. The next month, the next step is, okay, here's your goal plan. Let's find 3 people that can go to silver. Great security for the mother, great security for the daughter. And then the daughter's got an even bigger story. Look what I did. See, that's what I built one leg and we went silver. We did 48,000 points. There were 4 of us that went silver. We had an organization. I think we had 49 people in the group. We had a story. Howard comes along, number 2. Look what I just did for George. I could easily do that with you. Okay. Did it with Howard. Same thing, same story, same idea, same plan. Ran out of people for me to talk to. I threw an ad in the paper and I got a guy. His name was Chuck Michael. Chuck, this is what I just did with Howard and I just did with George. We can do the same thing with you. This is how it works. He said, sign me up. See, if you have the right story to tell, it's really easy. It's really, really, really easy. And so how do we get there? Well, we got to learn how to prospect properly. You've got to find people that have a necessity to do something, and you've got to show them and paint the right picture so they understand that what they're doing. They can't have the deer in the headlight look. They got to have a specific plan and strategy. I mean, Michael went over this with the 90-day plan. Again, you're trying to build yourself a business as an entrepreneur to take and sustain you for, years to come in the future. Well, then you got to get some skin in the game here. I mean, really. Otherwise, it gets frustrating. So, take a deep dive into prospecting, really understand what it means, really get your story down so that you understand to ask questions, really understand how it works, and really communicate in a way that creates an opportunity for you to get into somebody's warm market. And it could even be on the basis of, well, let me show you this, how does it work? Who do you know that we could go talk to right now? I used to do that all the time, and I had people going to seminars doing that left, right, and center. They asked one person, I said, listen, come work with me. It costs you $39, and let's go to work, and I'll show you how this works. And they say, okay, and then they take the next person, say, well, who do you know that might want to play with us? And they give them a name, they go talk to them, and they play. $39. Okay, then go down again and go down again and go down again. Somebody light up like a light bulb. So if you understand how it works, if you can paint the right picture for yourself and for somebody else, if you can find the need then really all your job is to provide the solution to the need. Now, if you start off with, hey, do you need a job? That can work sometimes. But are you looking for an employee? No, you're looking for an entrepreneur. You're looking for somebody that really wants to do something. And of all the people I've ever seen in this business, they didn't like doing what they were doing. Seemed to be a common draw. Anyway, let's open it up for some questions, and we'll before we end off tonight.